Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter eat whatever she wants? I, 45F, have a 15F daughter. She is extremely active on her school's dance team. They have practices 8 hours a week, and according to her Fitbit she gets 100 plus active minutes a day on average. Because of this, I basically let her eat whatever she wants, packs her own lunches/buys school lunch, eats whatever snacks she wants, eat or not eat the family dinner, all her choice. Because of the long practices, she usually eats a normal-sized lunch, a large snack, and a large dinner every day. However, my husband, her stepfather, has told me that I need to be enforcing healthier eating habits because she's getting chubby. She's always been on the curvy side, but she's a size medium or a size 8 in most clothing items. She's 5 feet 4 inches and 150 pounds. He told me that she's going to end up obese if I don't fix it now, and that's probably the cause of her knee problems. She's hypermobile in her knees, so they'll randomly buckle backwards and get a mild sprain. I've ignored his concern on the matter, because I believe my daughter is fine the way she is, and no doctor has brought up needing to lose weight, and that the knee problems are just an unfortunate genetic component. Both me and her father have similar issues. Does this make me the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole, but hear me out. I'm a body-positive fatty, on a WL journey, and close to your daughter's height. I've spent my whole life throwing eye daggers at anyone who criticized kids' eating habits or weight because I felt this happened to me as a kid and was not helpful and even did more damage than good. I stand by that opinion as well as your daughter's right, as a 15-year-old, to decide what's best for her to eat without having it policed, much less enforced, as your husband suggests. That said, the more work I do on my own health, the more I realize it's not a crime for a parent to want their kid to make healthy choices in all aspects of their lives, including their relationship with food. Thus, I think your husband is being an a-hole for focusing on the getting chubby, fix it now, and perhaps overstepping as a step-parent. But I don't think he's wrong for suggesting she may be forming bad habits and you have an opportunity to help her replace them with better ones. 150 is technically overweight for your daughter's height. I know this because I initially set it as my goal weight and my doctor was like, try again, shorty, although I know there are more factors than height and weight that go into what is healthy. If you are responsible for providing the large snack and the large dinner, perhaps you could replace them with a normal snack and a normal dinner, or keep them large in volume but lean a little heavier on veggies and protein. And this can't be something that is just for your daughter and not the rest of the family. It's a good time to get everyone to commit to eating a little better, including stepdad. Opie replies. She can decide however much she eats, and after a 3-hour practice, where she burned over 2,000 calories, she absolutely should not be eating the same portion sizes as a sedentary person. She doesn't eat breakfast either, so the large snack is really just making up calories. She's in high school and is in charge of most of her meals. This sounds more like a question for your pediatrician and other medical professionals. Exercise doesn't negate junk food. Eating a lot isn't a problem if she's burning it off, it's more a matter of what she's eating than how much. Too much sugar or fat or processed foods can still cause health issues, even if you aren't readily gaining weight. No judgment for now, since we don't know what the daughter is eating. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she doesn't have a family, she has a circus? The other day my sister, 36F, was complaining to me that her family is chaos and she doesn't understand why everyone can't get along and why they never have a truly good moment while everyone together. I listened to her for around 20 minutes and she told me I was being quiet. My response was that she clearly needed to vent and I didn't want to interject. That was mostly true, but I also think my sister is a little insane for thinking she'd get to have a nice neat little family given the craziness in her family. For context, my sister had her first child at 18, my nephew Shane, 18M. She dated Shane's dad for a while and found out when Shane was one that her boyfriend had another girl pregnant and so they broke up. My sister and the other mother both got arrested for fighting. And she swore she would never let that woman or her child near Shane. She got married at 21 and had 2 more kids, Katie, 15F, and Rye, 13M. She filed for divorce straight after Rye was born and her ex-husband is nowhere in sight since. A year later she met another man, who had a baby with someone. My niece Lily, 12F, is not my sister's bio child, but she raises her as her own, though unofficially since she's not adopted. Katie got married again, had Milo, 9M, with that husband and got pregnant with Sage, 7F, while married, but her ex-husband is not the father. Her youngest bio, so far, is Niall, 5M, and his father is not in the picture either. My sister is married again. Her husband has 2 kids from his first marriage and 2 kids from his second marriage. He also has a child in his life who is not his biological kid. Doesn't get along with his biological kids. But he treats this child like his own. The household has many complicated relationships and divided loyalties. There are complications with some of the other parents involved and other children involved. It's too long and complicated to get involved in. But even among my sister's children, they are not all cohesive close siblings, and some resentments exist for one reason or another. Anyway, Lily was venting to me. She said nobody she knows has a family so incapable of getting together as hers. She asked me why I thought that was, and I said very blended families are more complex. She told me there are people with bigger blended families than hers. I told her bigger doesn't always mean having as many others involved as hers. Then she said again they're all a family though, and they act like they don't want to be, and that's when I said probably because it's more of a circus than a family. My sister told me that was really unkind and untrue, that they are a family, even if others can't see it. She told me she expects an apology from me before we can speak again. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole, dear God, I had less trouble following genealogy of Elden Ring characters than your sister's lineage. I am giving you the not the a-hole verdict because, although your comment could be understood as rude, her life is obviously about perpetuating same mistakes and having same outcome at the cost of kids' happiness in the end. I know someone who did that to his kids, and their kids can't get along because they made a circus out of their lives. Not the a-hole, you mean to tell me that a revolving door of baby daddies doesn't make for a stable family dynamic? I think she needs a different hobby. Not the a-hole. She pressed you to explain yourself and you told her what you were thinking. In these sorts of conversations, you can't expect people to choose their words carefully, they just say what comes to mind. If she didn't want to know, she shouldn't have asked. Next story. Am I the a-hole for buying size XXXL clothes for my size 8 daughter? My 45F daughter, 16F, is quite slim and wears a size 8. However, she is insecure of her weight and thinks she's larger than she actually is. She recently became a huge fan of Japanese fashion styles, but we can never find those types of clothing in Western stores. So I decided to go online and order some clothes from Japanese websites. However, all the websites I went on used a different sizing system, and my daughter's measurements would actually be considered a size XXXL. When she first received them, she said she loved those clothes and was extremely thankful. Unfortunately, found out the clothes were actually a size XXXL. My daughter was furious with me, saying that I was body shaming her even though she was normal weight. She claimed I was triggering her body dysmorphia and said I was trying to call her fat because she's larger than a size 00. I feel bad, but the only clothes I could find in her correct size and her preferred style were labeled as XXXL. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole, you just need to talk with her about how clothing sizes are crap, and if you are buying, specifically from Asian sites, the sizes are going to be huge. I'm in the UK and I'm a size 10/small/medium. I check when buying online, and if it's a Chinese/Japanese or other Asian vendor, I need to put my size as XXXL, size 20. If the store is in the US, I can usually get an XS/size 8. If I got to MNS, I'm an 8. If I go to Next, I'm a 16. My husband was surprised when he was doing the washing and noticed that all my jeans were size 18. I am really not what you would look at and say, size 18. I had to explain it to him, that I'd bought them from a certain store and I'm a size 18 there. Some shops like Primark, UK thing, I can pick 3 pairs of jeans all claiming to be a 10, and some of them I can't get past my thighs while others literally fall down off me. Sizing is stupid, and depending on brand and manufacturer, it's even more stupid. You didn't do anything wrong, but it could be a good teaching experience to help her understand that the stupid numbers or letters on a label are totally irrelevant and just totally made up. Edit, Opie, please show your daughter all these comments. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is being unreasonable. The size is just a number. When I buy pants, I have to try on several different sizes to get a good fit. You bought clothes in a size she usually wears and adjusted for the Japanese sizing system. There was no insult intended. Not the a-hole. The kiddo needs to understand that Japanese sizing is very different. Women there are smaller. I wear size 0 to 4 US, depends on the brand, and I don't even try to shop in regular stores in Japan when I travel. Clothes would fit just too tight. I'm limited to t-shirts and those are LL, like double large or something, men's. You absolutely did not body or fat shame her. She needs to chill. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not picking up my former foster daughter in the middle of the night after she called for help? 2 years ago my wife, 37F, and I, 39, decided to foster. We have 3 children and felt terrible that there were kids out in the world that needed a loving home. Our first 2 placements only lasted a few days. It was fine. But then we were placed with Olivia, 11, I won't go into personal details but we were her 5th foster home since she was 9. My wife and I literally tried everything to help but she was rebellious. She ran away, broke things, stole things and lied. She lied so much it was insane. It was months and months of this. Just when we thought things were getting better she would ruin it. The 6th time she ran away we had enough. We asked to have her removed. She said, I knew you didn't care. I knew you didn't want me. You just wanted the money. My wife and I lost it. We reminded her how we listened to her, took her places she wanted to go, and encouraged her. We told that we didn't spend a dime of the foster care money, instead we saved it for her so she could have money when she turned 18. We showed her the bank account with thousands of dollars in it and said that when she's 18 she can still have it. I think it was at that point she realized we cared, but it was too late. She went back into the system and not sure what happened. Life went on. We had another baby, we moved a few miles away. Last Saturday night my wife received a call from Olivia, now 13. She put in on speakerphone. Olivia apparently ran away from another foster home and had been living on the streets for days. Eventually she made it to our old neighborhood. I told her that we moved. She asked us if we could pick her up from a certain location. She asked if we could take her in. She was crying saying she loved the kids. She missed my wife's cooking. She wants me to teach her how to play piano. I had started teaching her as a way to bond. I felt bad for her but taking her back was impossible. But we feared she would run away again. So we told her that we would be there. We called the police instead and they took her in. The police contacted us a few days later saying Olivia's foster parents were pressing charges. She stole a few things. Also Olivia had a vape with drugs in it. We were told that she would probably go to juvenile detention until she's 18, this is what we were told, unsure if it will happen. They asked if we wanted any updates and we declined. We also asked them not to have her contact us again. Today we were telling some friends about this. While some agreed with us, a few called us monsters. One of our friends said, I would have scooped that baby up and kept her. Legally there was nothing we could do. Am I the a-hole for not helping? Top comments. Not the a-hole, but man, oh man, what a gut-wrenching situation for you. Having worked with kids like this who end up on the street, the reality is this. Her needs far outweighed your skill sets. You don't have the training or skill sets to foster a kid like that. Neither do any of your circle. That baby needs way more than being scooped up and kept. Just to let you know, you already did that. She is going to require a full panel of professional support and services, and only she can decide if she wants that. Still, gut-wrenching for you and your wife. But she has to want the help and support, otherwise, nothing will get accomplished. Even if you did go get her, I'm pretty sure you could have been charged with kidnapping. You tried to be her support system at 11, and from the looks of things she only going further down the wrong path. You can't help someone who A, doesn't want it, B, will drag anyone down with them. It's sad because of how young she is, but you have to protect those in your house first. Opie replies. I agree. I know size doesn't matter, but she's also a very tiny 13. I was afraid for her on the streets, thinking the worst. The frustrating part that she is extremely smart. She has so much potential when it comes to math and science. I just wish she saw herself through us. Gonna go against the grain and say you are the a-hole. You shouldn't have fostered that girl if you weren't prepared for her to act out. Most kids in the system have been abused/neglected. They don't behave like children who have been raised in a loving home, like it seems you expected her to behave. You ultimately made her situation worse, in my opinion, when you should have been aware of what would most likely happen. I hope anyone who reads this or has heard your story is able to understand fostering is a huge commitment, and these kids deserve better. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my biological son to stop calling me mom? Throwaway. So long story short, when I, 40F, was a teenager, I had a baby and gave him up for adoption. I did this through an agency, and one of the stipulations of the contract required the adoptive parents to provide my contact information to him after he was an adult so that if he ever wanted to contact me, he could. Sure enough, 18 years later I get a letter in the mail and he wants to meet. I said yes, and his mom flew with him to meet me in my state. We had a great visit and it was amazing getting to know the great young man he grew up to be. We have kept in contact over the last couple years. I let him meet my kids and let him form a brotherly bond with them. Then he started calling me mom. It feels weird to me for him to call me that, and it feels disrespectful to his mom, who I think is amazing to be so forthcoming and supporting of him having a relationship with me and my family. I really didn't want to hurt him, but I explained my feelings to him about a week ago and I haven't heard from him since. While it is common for us to go for long periods of time without talking, I have a feeling that this particular bout of silence is due to him being upset, and I am feeling guilty about it. Am I the a-hole here? Edit 2. Clearly I am an inexperienced poster. It is worth mentioning that we met after he turned 18. He is going to be 23 next month. I guess I thought it would be assumed that he was in his 20s since I am 40 and birthed him as a teen. Edit. Okay, so I made this post just before bed last night and did not expect it to have so many comments by this morning. To clarify a couple of things I have seen in the comments. I gave him up at birth. He has never known me to be his mother, and his adoptive mom is his only mom. Giving him up was the single hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life. So to the people who say I rejected him, you have no idea what you're talking about. I went through an agency and specifically chose his parents from stacks and stacks of files. He has had a wonderful life full of so many more opportunities than my teenage self could have ever dreamed of giving him. I didn't just blurt out, "Don't call me mom," or "I am not your mom." We had a conversation about it where I told him I was uncomfortable with it and he seemed understanding about it and where I was coming from. He harbors zero feelings of abandonment or rejection. His parents are wonderful parents and he had a great life. His desire to meet me did not come from a "why did you abandon me" place. He was curious about me and wondered how much of his personality is nature versus nurture. Spoiler alert, a lot of his personality is nature. As an only child though, he was very excited to meet his brothers. I don't think he wanted to call me mom because he felt some mother-son connection between us. He said that he felt like I deserve a title that is more than just "lady I got DNA from," especially around his brothers. I told him it is fine just to call me by my first name. His bio father died of a drug overdose some years ago. And no, I did not give him up because I was on drugs. I have never even smoked pot in my life. Top comments. No a-hole here, however, reach out to your son and ask if he is okay. Maybe clarify in writing that although you are his mother, you don't feel that you deserve the title of mother or mom. That you value your relationship. OP, you are the older person here, step up and communicate. You are the a-hole. I feel you, I really do. But imagine hearing that from the same mom that put you up for adoption. Adoptive kids already have to work through the identity issues and wondering why you gave them up. But then to meet and think things are great, but don't call me mom. Ugh, heartbreaking. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the truth about how the bride looks? IF, 24. Dabble in photography quite often. As for a career, I design clothing and model it to save costs. So when my brother Jake M, 21, asked me to photograph his wedding, I of course agreed. My brother's wife, Chelsea, 22, is a very kind woman, however her stylistic choices can sometimes be a bit wild. I do not judge at all because I know innovation is part of self-expression. Chelsea showed me her wedding makeup, and she had these vibrant green contacts on. They looked extremely reptilian on her due to it not matching her undertone. When she showed me the picture, I told her she looked lovely, but that the contacts weren't the best. She seemed a bit offended, and told me she just wanted to look exotic like you. I offered to find her some more natural contacts but she wouldn't relent. On her wedding day, as I took pictures, the contacts looked even worse, like a neon green light-up sign. When Jake was free for a moment, I showed him a few pictures. He called Chelsea over, and she seemed to be happy with the pictures, while Jake seemed a bit iffy. Chelsea asked what I thought, and I told her she looked stunning, but I then asked if she'd like me to edit the contrast a bit in the pictures. She then got extremely defensive, and accused me of calling her ugly on her own wedding day. Of course that was not my intention, but I left early to prevent a scene. Edits to answer some questions. The bride was not being racist with the exotic comment, English is her second language, I just look unconventional. I left the wedding at 1 a.m. instead of 3, they had lots of pictures taken by me. I asked her about the edits at the wedding itself as she wanted them posted as soon as possible on my account and hers. I didn't want her to receive rude comments from our relatives, my followers, or anything like that, but I also didn't want her to be edited without consent. Top comments. A gentle you are the a-hole. You showed her the photos, and she liked how she looked, that's what matters in this moment. As you said, this is her form of self-expression. You'd have been better off sticking to your "I do not judge at all" claim. You approached this as a family member and not as a wedding photographer. Can't fault you for that, so a gentle you are the a-hole, because you are her new sister-in-law. Your honesty was well intended but your timing was poor. A wedding photographer would have taken the photos and not questioned the bride's style choices. That would be the professional approach in this scenario. Afterwards, once you sent the photos over, the bride could let you know if she had concerns. If she didn't, as a photographer, you keep your mouth shut. Side note, as someone who does photography as a side hustle, I highly recommend not being the main photographer for relatives' weddings. Learn this early on. They hire a professional, you have more fun, and whatever photos you take are bonus pictures that they are ever so grateful to receive. You are the a-hole. Giving her advice pre-wedding was okay. There was absolutely no reason to show them pictures or give them advice or ask about editing on the wedding day. That could have been saved for post-wedding and could have been done a lot more tactfully. Give them a few options of a sample photo and see if they choose the lower contrast one. Also, you then left early, presumably leaving them without a photographer. You are the a-hole. You expressed your opinion once. It sounds like you were mixing your personal opinion, her stylistic choices can sometimes be a bit wild, with your professional opinion about the contacts, which makes me a touch suspicious of your motivation here. But even so, once is fine. But then you brought it up again on her wedding day. Again when you, unnecessarily, sought a second opinion to back yourself up. And again when you suggested editing the photos on the same day. It's not your place to keep pushing your opinion on the bride. She was happy, why didn't you want her to be? If she changes her mind later, as you suggest she might, then the photos could be edited then. But you needed to be right and kept pushing, and that's where you are the a-hole. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.